Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Cam Rogers Show on this Friday, November 10th, 2017. How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? We are completely live for the next hour as we take you up until 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I am Cam Rogers. Toss me a follow at Mr. Rogers99. No relation to the man in the sweater, although I wish there was. Unfortunately, not. But, of course, we have a jam-packed program on tap for you. Very excited for the content that's coming your way. We're going to start off with the opening rant, as we always do, talking about hot seats in the NFL, some top candidates, and what I will call somebody's getting fired. And that's my segment today in the opening rant. I'll go through some coaches that you should keep an eye out for that perhaps could get fired before the season ends, or maybe on what they call Black Monday right after the regular season. So I'll get into that later in the show. We have Golf Channel host Chantel McCabe of New Hampshire, by the way. Fellow New Hampshireite. Looking forward to that conversation. That's at the 15-minute mark. She has some fun projects coming up for Golf Channel. The golf season's still going on, folks. So a lot of exciting questions to ask her, and let's see how her golf game is, too. I look forward to asking her about that. And at the 30-minute mark, talking about 4 NFL teams guaranteed to lose this Sunday. So for all you gamblers out there, or maybe you're in a pool with your coworkers, what have you, I'm giving you 4 teams that are losing. So I'm giving you 4 right answers right off the bat before Sunday even begins. Isn't that a beautiful thing? And then speaking of football, at the 40-minute mark, we have Chiefs running back Charcandrick West. Looking forward to chatting with him, talking about the Chiefs season so far and some fun questions for Charcandrick, as well as he has had a great year with the Chiefs. They're doing pretty darn good. You got to watch out for this team in the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs. Look out. They are looking like a force in the NFL this year, and the run game is a big reason why. So looking forward to talking with Mr. West there at the 40-minute mark, and then, if time permitting, a final word about the bizarre situation with Roger Goodell, Jerry Jones, and the NFL owners right now, and what seems to be kind of a shaky deal, and we'll talk about more about that in the final word section, because there seems to be a rift, if you will, between Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell, and I feel it could only get worse with this whole suspension here with Ezekiel Elliott. So there you have it. So, of course, we are completely live, so we want you commenting, reacting, throwing in your thoughts about the many topics that I will be discussing here today. I'm sure we can get a lot of comments coming in about the NFL coaching hot seats, because everybody has an opinion about that. By the way, be sure to subscribe to the Cam Rogers Show podcast. Just search on iTunes, The Cam Rogers Show. It'll say live at the end of it. And pretty pumped to say it's the #4 sports video podcast in the world right now. Even if it's just my mom refreshing the page every single time, I'll take it. Thanks, Mom. But no, seriously, we do appreciate all the support out there. So leave a review if you can. Hit the subscribe button and get me wherever you go. So with that, let's get into the crux of the program here. Somebody in the NFL is getting fired, and I have a few candidates that we should be watching out for. I'll count you down from number 5 all the way down to number 1, so it gets more likely as I go down the list here. This one may not be a popular one for many, but I feel we should throw him on the list. Dirk Koetter, head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2-6 on the campaign this year, 4th in the NFC South. This is an interesting situation because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were a sexy pick in the preseason by the prognosticators, if you will, and the pundits to perhaps make a wild card game, maybe make a bit of a deep run in the NFC playoffs. Clearly not the case right now, as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are struggling mightily. Yes, they're dealing with injuries. Jameis Winston dealing with that AC joint issue, obviously more of a prolonged injury than we once thought. So Jameis Winston actually has been shut down for the next couple of weeks. It looks like it's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick there at the quarterback position in the coming weeks. Mike Evans suspended this week because of what happened a week ago. So I throw Dirk Koetter down here because it was a good season in 2016. A building block type of season when they went 9-7 and you thought, okay, this was going to be the year. With the Tampa Bay Buccaneers having the weapons that they have now, O.J. Howard, a fantastic tight end in his own right, as well as Cameron Brate, Doug Martin coming back from a suspension earlier this season. You have the likes of Mike Evans, Humphreys, a great slot receiver, and an offensive line that, yes, disappointed a little bit a year ago, but still has some pieces to build around, and then a young defense. Hargraves back there in the secondary of the veteran and Brent Grimes. None of that has really transpired. And again, I can put an asterisk next to Dirk Koetter here because of the Jameis Winston injury, if you will. But sometimes NFL owners and GMs, they're not so forgiving. So I put Dirk Koetter here just as a name to monitor. I don't think he's necessarily going to get fired tomorrow or even in the next few weeks, maybe even after the season. But maybe once we get into 2018, Dirk Koetter will have a bit of a fire under his butt where, okay, you need to start performing. That's probably what the NFL owner is going to say out of Tampa Bay and the management there, because you go from 9-7 to perhaps what could be somewhat of a 5-11 type season in an NFC South where you thought maybe anybody could really win that division going into this season. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were in the conversation, Panthers were as well, Saints, etc. And so there's a lot of pressure on Dirk Koetter. That's why he's on my list here in the somebody's getting fired section. Obviously not as pressing as some of the names that I'm going to get into here, but I will say this final point about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Secondary has had major issues. Brent Grimes and Vernon Hargraves have played very poorly according to Pro Football Focus. The highest PFF rank is Hargraves in the secondary at 54, and that's a poor grade. So obviously not panning out in the back end right now. You still have Levante David and Gerald McCoy who are having fantastic seasons, but outside of them in that defense, big-time concerns. So Dirk Koetter falls at number 5. How about the next coach here? Ben McAdoo is on the hot seat. 1-7 on the campaign so far, 4th dead last in the NFC East. And now there are reports of players essentially giving up on McAdoo at this point. And these are anonymous reports given to ESPN here. And I'm going to read a quote because I think it's pretty amazing in terms of what this anonymous player said. But before I get to that, some weird situations with McAdoo. So, suspended Janoris Jenkins for a game for team reasons. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie as well. You look at some of the playmakers in the secondary, not as good as they were last year. Landon Collins has dropped off a bit. He's still graded pretty well according to Pro Football Focus, but not as good as last year. Of course, you have to point to the injuries as well. Odell Beckham Jr., Brandon Marshall, etc. But I feel that Ben McAdoo clearly is losing this locker room because you look at this quote here, and I'm going to read it. It was given to Josina Anderson of ESPN. So this is what one anonymous player said about Ben McAdoo. Quote, "I'm going to keep it 100, and I'm going to tell you like it is. And it's terrible. I feel like we really don't have a leader in Coach McAdoo. Going from Coach Coughlin, a leader who just had that presence, like if you were doing something wrong on the phone in the hallway, walking by Coughlin, he's going to say something to you. Coach McAdoo, on the other hand, would see you on the phone in the hallway, walk by you, and then fine you." So we're seeing two personality differences here, or one big difference in that Ben McAdoo is passive-aggressive. Tom Coughlin is in your face, is going to tell you like it is. And clearly some of the players in the New York Giants locker room don't like this passive-aggressive type of methodology, if you will. And, of course, you can look back to last week. The Giants suffered the franchise's worst home loss since 1998 when they absolutely got blown out by the Los Angeles Rams. So, like I said at the beginning of the program, folks, we want you commenting and reacting and throwing in your thoughts. Who will be the first NFL coach to be fired this year? So we do have a weigh-in. We'll bring it up to you for the folks at home. Toss in your thoughts. Maybe it's McAdoo, perhaps a Dirk Koetter. Will an NFL coach get fired during the regular season? Will they all just get fired after the season? Throw in those thoughts. We'll be showing them throughout the broadcast as we see fit. But let's check in with number 3, and somebody is getting fired, and that is Chuck Pagano. And I am not going to put a lot of the blame on this guy. This has been a collective failure on the part of the Indianapolis Colts, talking about the management and how they have dealt with Andrew Luck. I talked about this in my opening rant back on Wednesday. You can check that out in the podcast. But essentially, the management has failed Andrew Luck. They've wasted away his talent because of the injuries that he's dealing with. Of course, he was placed on IR. We're not going to see him in 2017, which I think is a shame. And I am projecting that Chuck Pagano is eventually going to be the scapegoat here and get fired because of it. So the Colts 3-6, 4th in the AFC South right now. And a new GM, so usually that points to change likely to happen if you're not having success with your current head coach. and you throw on the whipped cream on top, if you will, the Vontae Davis debacle that has gone on. So he's no longer with the team. He's been removed. He's been released. And so this is what happened. Before the Houston Texans game, Chuck Pagano left Vontae Davis behind and called it a coach's decision. But Davis said he was dealing with a groin injury and thought maybe he could give it a go, or at least he felt a right to travel with the team, and felt, quote, disrespected by the Colts. Obviously, this is going to create tension in the locker room in my eyes because Vontae Davis is such a well-respected player. So obviously, we have a couple of PR nightmares, if you will, with the Indianapolis Colts and Chuck Pagano, etc. So he is candidate number 3. How about candidate number 2? Somebody is getting fired. This guy's been a fixture in the hot board, if you will. Marvin Lewis, head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. Marvin Lewis, 3-5, third in the AFC North. The Bengals are dead last in yards per game, 28th in points per game. And this is a situation where I think it's just getting stale right now with the Cincinnati Bengals and Marvin Lewis. Tom Downey here, he's Ohio-born, and he's talked about this. He has many friends who are Bengals fans. And Tom Downey, of course, our Cowboys insider here at Chat Sports. And all of his friends who are Bengals fans say, Marvin Lewis has to go. It's time. 7 playoff appearances, 0 wins. What does that tell you? And I think this could be the final straw for the Cincinnati Bengals. They had a pretty bad draft just recently. Everybody knew their offensive line was going to be pretty darn bad. And especially at tackle, it's in shambles. So I think Marvin Lewis's time has come and gone at this point. Yes, the Bengals are 3-5. Yes, maybe they can get on a run and maybe make a push in a wild card in a bit of a watered-down bottom of the AFC. But still, when you're dead last in yards per game and you're not scoring many points when you have speedsters and John Ross, I get it, he's been hurt, but you have A.J. Green, Joe Mixon, who I feel is not being used the right way. You have a spark plug in Gio Bernard. I think he hasn't been used the right way in years past. Tyler Kroft as well, a good talent. Of course, you lose Tyler Eifert for the season. That's tough. But you still have playmakers on that offense. To be dead last in yards per game with a qualified quarterback. I won't say he's a great quarterback, but a qualified quarterback in Andy Dalton. Obviously, a big-time disappointment for the Cincinnati Bengals this year. They were the fixture of the AFC playoffs for some time, and clearly that is not the case right now. So Marvin Lewis, there at number 2 in terms of somebody is getting fired in the NFL. How about number 1? Hue Jackson, head coach for the Cleveland Browns. This has been a major disappointment for me personally. Why is that? Because I thought that Hue Jackson could bring this no-nonsense mentality to Cleveland, change the culture a little bit, and create a winning atmosphere again in Ohio. And clearly that has not gone on when you look at the record there. 0-8, dead last in the AFC North. 31st in points per game this season, and I have not seen a lot of development out of Deshaun Kaiser right now. Why is that? Maybe it's not his fault. Maybe it's the fact that he's in, and then he's out, and then he's in, and then he's out, and then Kevin Hogan's in, and Cody Kessler, throw him into the fold a little bit. I think it's been a little bit of a disaster, to put it nicely, with Hue Jackson and the way in which he has dealt with these quarterbacks here in Cleveland. I don't think there's an answer at quarterback on the Cleveland's roster right now. They're going to have a high draft pick coming up in 2018. Maybe a couple of high draft picks because they have Houston's first rounder as well. And Houston could be continuing to struggle in the AFC. So Hue Jackson, I feel, is in the roughest position right now, probably the most likely position to get fired in the NFL. One final point. So there actually is a report from ESPN today that the Giants do not plan to make any personnel changes. So it looks like Ben McAdoo may be okay, but take that with a grain of salt. Nothing official per se from the Giants organization. So do with that with what you wish. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the opening rant here, talking about the Cleveland Browns and the debacle that it has been for them so far this season. Throw in those comments. We want to know what your thoughts are about who is getting fired across the NFL. Hey, maybe college fans out there that are watching the program, throw in your thoughts about who's getting fired in college football. I will welcome those comments as well. So we will be showing those throughout the broadcast as we see fit. This is a weigh-in, so we are completely live. We will show them because that's what we do here on the Cam Rogers Show. Harris Rubenstein will bring him up, my fantastic producer here. All right, we are going to hit a break on the Cam Rogers Show. Coming up on the other side, we've got an interview with Chantel McCabe of Golf Channel. Looking forward to that conversation. Stick around. It's the Cam Rogers Show. Hey folks, welcome back to the Cam Rogers Show here on Facebook Live. We have Chantel McCabe here of the Golf Channel checking into the program. Chantel, of course, one of the great hosts for Golf Channel, putting out some great content. So, by the way, a fellow New Hampshireite as well. Chantel, thanks for the time. How we doing?
Doing well, yeah, representing 603 in the 407 at the moment.
There you have it. So, by the way, before we get into the crux of the interview here, I want to get this off the bat. I want to check in and make sure that you didn't go to Nashua North or Bishop Girton High School, because if you did, there'd be some tension in this interview. Tell me I'm wrong here.
I went to Manchester Central, so it's all good.
All right. Thank God. Thank God. All
the
right.
Little Green. Yeah.
So you went, let's start off to the beginning here. You went to the University of New Hampshire, covered sports while you were there. Did you ever expect to end up at the Golf Channel covering golf?
Not covering golf, but I knew that I was definitely going to be leaving New Hampshire. I picked up golf in college, and I was actually interning for a sports marketing firm when I picked up my first golf club, and ever since then I've been playing. And I have to say, even though I'm a devoted hockey fan, thanks to growing up in New Hampshire, I love covering golf more than anything.
And you've been with the Golf Channel for, let's say, a year now. How fun has that journey been for you? A lot of good content has come out of that network.
Oh, yeah. No, it's amazing. I get to travel the world. The travel schedule gets intense, and, I mean, golf pretty much happens year-round. The off-season is only 3 weeks long. So it's nice, though, because you get to stay in a place for a week, and just the quality of people in the game of golf are amazing. There's, like any sport, so many good stories, but just the character, the kind of quality people that are in golf. And I get to cover not just the PGA Tour, but the LPGA, college golf, Symetra Tour, World Long Drive. I'm covering everything. So I get to really meet people from all different ages, and it's cool. It's honestly my favorite stop in my career. So I'm really, really lucky to be here.
Well, I do have to ask about one of the big storylines in golf right now. I've got my Tiger Woods hat on display here on the broadcast, so I have to ask you, Tiger making the return, Hero World Challenge. What are your expectations here? Walk me through your thinking.
I don't think there's necessarily expectations. I mean, he's been putting out swing videos. He's definitely intensified the hype. but it's hard because anybody who's had as much success as he's had, you want to be able to go out on top. So what makes me nervous, and I wasn't at Golf Channel for what would affectionately be known as the Tiger Woods era, but there's definitely questions about where his game's at, where his head's at. But the fact that he wants to be part of the game is only good for the game and the growth of golf. I mean, so many careers, purses, just the game evolved so much from his impact. So the fact that he's even trying to return, I mean, that's going to create more crowds, more buzz. And that's exactly why you asked me that question, because Tiger Woods is the X factor, and we might never see anybody come close to him, just the way that the game has progressed. So expectations for his personal game, you got to wait and see. Nobody comes back from those kinds of back surgeries and injuries and personal trauma and is quite the same. So I don't think we're expecting a run at world number one necessarily, especially considering the way the game has just changed with equipment, with players, with training. I mean, he's getting up there in age, and his body is just not what it used to be, and that's probably a hard reality for him to meet. But just the fact that we're talking about it is good for the sport.
And, of course, for the folks at home, we will be having Mike Antolini, the VP of the Tiger Woods Foundation, on the program next week, so stay tuned for that. Chantel, let me ask you about this. You mentioned how, obviously, we're in a different state of the PGA Tour. I will say there's definitely a lot of personality on tour these days. So with that, I want to ask you, who has been your most fun interview to this point working for Golf Channel?
Most fun interview? Getting to interview Jordan Spieth after his 10th win at 24 years old, when he won in a playoff with a hole out from the bunker at the Travelers right up near our hood. That was pretty special. That was a fun interview to do, just given the circumstances. He's such a polite guy. I don't know if I'd call him the most fun. It's hard to say. The World Long Drive guys have a lot of personality, but I have my own most fun and fulfilling interviews with, like, just the deep-rooted answers and the passion behind them. When I was at the Web.com Tour Championship, which is, in relative terms, the minors for the PGA Tour, these guys are playing for their livelihood. They make 1/10 of the paychecks, and they don't have any of the same resources or play at the same clubs. It's just a total different game changer when they're on the Web.com Tour. And so the top 25 players in the Web.com Tour Championship, after all was said and done, moved onto the PGA Tour and earned their cards for this season. And those interviews were just the most impactful interviews I've ever done. And, for example, Sean Stephanie is expecting his first child next month, and so he knew how important it was to just be in a better place and to have that financial security and the security of knowing what your schedule is going to be, those kinds of things, by securing his PGA Tour card. And I mean, I made a grown man cry, and in the best way ever, because that was truly the most fun I've had interviewing people, because it just means so much to them, and be able to see that emotion pour out is something that literally will stay with you forever.
Nothing like a little drama on the golfing stage.
I love drama. Who doesn't? Yeah,
exactly.
Of course.
So from what I understand, you try to get out and play as much as possible. So where's the handicap at? What are you averaging? Walk me through your game right now. Where are we at?
Yeah, well, like I said, I started playing when I was in college, so I don't have a ton of rounds under my belt, but my goal this year was to break 90. I shot a 92, so I'm inching my way closer. I still have a month and a half to break 90 this year. But no, it's hilarious. Just the things that I notice from being exposed to the sport on a daily basis. I mean, I don't even have to take lessons to be able to learn everything that I have. And yeah, so I'm embarrassed to admit that I still need to break 90, because that's not the answer people expect to hear, but it's the truthful one. People always ask me, especially in the golf world, like, where did you play college golf? And I have to regretfully inform them that I didn't play in college. I started playing while I was in college, so that's always a surprise to most people.
Hey, it's okay because I'm a washed-up varsity high school golfer. So, I mean, I started earlier than you, and I still sink. I was going to say, what's your handicap?
Let's throw the question back.
So, let's look ahead to the PGA Tour season in 2018. Of course, we're going on right now. It's a wraparound season, etc. But I want you to kind of open up your crystal ball a little bit. Look at some names maybe that we should kind of look out for in 2018. Some dark horse names that could be big-time players.
Dark horse names. Well, Justin Thomas isn't talked about enough. I mean, it's amazing that he wins his first major, but there's just so much talent now. And you talk to the players, and it is so hard to win out here. And why is that? It's because we don't have the one Tiger Woods who's winning, week after week. The world number one is in jeopardy of changing again. And that's because, I mean, you can say it's the equipment, you can say it's all these different things. It could be because of the Tiger Woods era and just a growing interest in the game and how many people that's brought to it and how it's intensified competition. But as far as a dark horse, a name people probably aren't familiar with is Xander Schauffele. He was the Rookie of the Year. And what he did in the playoffs last year was remarkable. And this is a guy that did the same thing. I mentioned the Web.com tour where he graduated and he made a splash on the PGA Tour immediately, which it's not always like that because the schedule does really grind on you. Just imagine, I mean, being home for maybe 1 week every other month. And it's just a lot of things to adapt to. They're traveling all over the world. You don't really get a minute to kind of reflect and adjust and meet with your coaches and all of these things. It's always on the go. So the fact that he was able to adjust so quickly, I'm very excited myself to see what he does in his second year because not many people can make those quick adjustments and like the way he did. So that would be my name to watch.
Well, he certainly ended the FedEx Cup playoffs with a bang, winning that tour championship. So Xander Schauffele, obviously a name to watch out for. Now, Chantel, from also what I can kind of gather here in my research, you actually covered politics back in New Hampshire. First of all, God bless you. And second of all, that's got to be a bit of a difference from, politics coming on over to golf, huh?
It is. It's just a different sport, though. I treated it the same way, actually. My best friend's here. She's going to make fun of me. I've got my mug with all my presidents.
That's perfect.
She's laughing at me right now. No, growing up in New Hampshire, that was really our sport. I mean, you go to the South and you can't miss a football game. And growing up in New Hampshire, I mean, anybody who's there knows how it is and how cool and special and, fortunate we are to have every single candidate step foot in our state, especially around election time. So, yeah, I met almost every single candidate, and the questions that I could talk to on a personal level outside of interviews, just really getting to know these candidates who, no matter what their issues are, to hear what they're passionate about and how they want to pursue them. That is my favorite sport, and I know I'll be back in New Hampshire and I'll be covering politics again, but that's my bread and butter right there, and that's thanks to the good old 603 First in the Nation.
There you go. It's a big-time battleground state. There's no doubt about that. So I guess I could say that kind of passion for politics coincides with your news junkiness, if you will. You're a big news fan, and you're a traditional news fan at that. You like the newspaper and all that stuff, right? Is that still part of your routine?
Yeah, when I'm on the road, I get the newspaper at the hotel. I don't get it to my house like I used to because I'm never here. But yeah, my friends will make fun of me because I am always talking about this, that, and the other when it comes to current events and always trying to get them going and hear other people's opinions because I'm obsessed. And it's funny because on the range, when I'm talking to guys, getting to know new players, because I'm bouncing around tours, as I mentioned,
right.
One thing everybody has in common is everybody is interested in what's happening. So it's really bridged making friendships and connections with people when I'm actually working because so many people are interested in it is in some kind of level as well.
Hey, there's nothing quite like hopping on an airplane, opening up that USA Today, and, just getting it all in, get all those news stories in. So, hey, I hear you. There's a powerful thing about it. There's no doubt about it. All right, I want to wrap up here with kind of a interesting question. So, we're both from New Hampshire. I haven't met this guy. I want to know if you have. Have you met Adam Sandler yet, or is that still on your bucket list?
I knew this was coming. I wouldn't say it's on my bucket list. It'd be nice to collaborate with the people in New Hampshire and do something for the state, whether it's making some kind of fundraiser. So that would be the reason why I'd want to connect with him and Jackie McMullen, who played basketball and is on ESPN and has a couple of great books. It'd be cool to kind of get all the people from New Hampshire together, and maybe going back to reading the newspaper and current events, we'll try to do something for the ongoing drug crisis in New Hampshire. So that would be my motive to meet him. I don't know how often he gets back in New Hampshire. I know he did a couple of his movies a few years ago in the Granite State. So we'll see. I'm sure I'll run into him at some point, but sooner than later, so we can go back to our roots and do some good for the state.
There you go. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Golf Channel reporter Chantel McCabe, and if you want to check her out later next month, she'll be at the Sharks Shootout, airing on Golf Channel December 8th through the 10th. Also, will be a part of NBC Sports coverage of the PNC Father-Son Challenge in mid-December.
Yes.
Also some fun projects coming up. Chantel, thanks so much for jumping on the program. Right. I assume you'll be going back to New Hampshire for the holidays, so enjoy that.
Yes, I'll be going back. I run a half marathon in Nashua next weekend, so I could use all the support and fans and encouragement possible.
All right, all my Nashua friends out there, show up. All right, there you have it. Chantel McCabe, thanks so much for the time.
All right, we'll see ya. Thanks for having me.
You got it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, many thanks to her for coming on the program. Some good talk about golf. It's still going on. It's a wraparound season, so many thanks to her for coming on the program. We'll hit a quick break here on the Cam Rogers Show. Coming up on the other side, 4 NFL teams guaranteed to lose. I'm giving you a couple answers. Stick around. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live. And many thanks again to Chantel McCabe for coming on the program. Running a marathon in Nashua this week. I didn't even know Nashua did marathon, so good luck to her. New segment here. 4 NFL teams guaranteed to lose this coming Sunday. And I'm giving you a couple answers right now. Let's start off with number 1 lock to lose, the Indianapolis Colts. Oh, poor Colts. Chuck Pagano on the hot seat. Steelers coming off a bye. They're fresh. I think this is really a bad situation for Indy. Yes, they're playing at home. Yes, you can kind of point to the fact that the Steelers have struggled before on the road, and that kind of is a narrative with them. But I just think the Colts are in too much of a train wreck at this point. I think that they will score a fair amount of points. I still think Jacoby Brissett is a capable quarterback. But at the end of the day, I think they're my number 1 lock to lose this coming Sunday. I don't see the Steelers flopping coming off a bye, looking ahead to perhaps next week or what have you. I think they're really ready to roll here to make a big-time run in the AFC North. They see an opportunity with the Bengals and the Ravens respectively struggling. I think the Steelers here are really going to run away with this thing in the coming weeks here in the AFC, talking about the AFC North specifically. Watch out for those Steelers corners, though. They have been really darn tough this season. So if you have a T.Y. Hilton, a Dante Moncrief on your fantasy teams, you might want to look elsewhere because these Steelers corners have actually played really darn good. All right, so my Colts are the #1 lock to lose. How about my Browns? Let's see them. Yes, they're the #2 lock to lose. Again, fixture on the hot seat list as well. Deshaun Kaiser has shown me zero confidence, ladies and gentlemen, that he can actually win a football game. And again, that's not necessarily his fault. He hasn't developed the way he would like, I'm sure. Perhaps we should give him more time. Perhaps he should have been the quarterback all season. Don't just pull him randomly. Hue Jackson. So the Browns, they're taking on the Lions, and they're coming off a game where Marvin Jones and Golden Tate had a combined yardage of over 200 receiving last week against those Packers. So you look at that, and you look at the wide receiving core for the Browns. Who's going to catch the ball? I don't even know who's going to catch the ball for Cleveland. Kenny Britt has been a major disappointment, and Corey Coleman with the big-time injury at the beginning of the season really put them a step backwards in terms of their hopes to get some production out of the wide receiving core. So not a lot of confidence for the Browns this coming week against the Detroit Lions. They're my #2 lock to lose. #3 lock to lose here. The Houston Texans, Tom Savage and that offensive line versus Aaron Donald. That's just a big fat yikes. And the Texans are going on the road to take on a Rams team fresh off blowing out the New York Football Giants. And the Giants, I guess you could argue, have a better quarterback than the Texans and Tom Savage. So you do the math there. I think the Rams are really going to get after Tom Savage. The Rams have struggled against the run. So I will point this out. If Lamar Miller gets on a groove and there's some sort of effective play action off of that down to DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, etc., there are some concerns here with Tom Savage in general and his ability to be an efficient quarterback. It's clear. He is no Deshaun Watson. So you look at that, and you also look at Houston's defense. The defense is starting to dip a little bit. The loss of J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless have been major concerns. And at first, it looked like, okay, this defense would be okay. Not clearly the case, because the defense has actually given up a lot of yards in the secondary. And when you don't have Whitney Merciless and J.J. Watt disrupting offensive lines and disrupting opposing quarterbacks, that means big plays down the field. Hue Jackson has been a big-time disappointment back there in the secondary, and then Goff's rapport with Cooper Kupp and Woods out there on the outside, it's starting to build, and it's starting to build big time. So I think that those two are going to have some big games against the Texans. So Texans, my #3 lock to lose. My #4 lock to lose, the Green Bay Packers. It's been a bit of a disappointment for this team so far because, of course, Aaron Rodgers getting hurt. What are you going to do after that? I mean, it's a team that obviously relies on Aaron Rodgers and his ability to move throughout the pocket and create plays down the field. It's kind of a Russell Wilson type of situation. And when you bring in Brett Hundley, there was actually a lot of confidence around this guy at quarterback to perhaps win some games in the meantime, maybe get Aaron Rodgers back towards the end of the season and maybe make a playoff push. Obviously not the case right now. By the way, you look at the other side of things, and the Chicago Bears, that defense has been ferocious. Hicks on that front line, in the secondary that has been opportunistic, has been fantastic. And I think they're going to create some plays against Brett Hundley and a running back core that is really odd at this point. You have Ty Montgomery, you have Williams there, the rookie, and Jones as well. But it was a weird kind of split of carries a week ago against the Detroit Lions. And I really don't know who their featured back is right now. Maybe they're still trying to experiment who exactly their guy is in the backfield. I thought it was Aaron Jones because we saw some good flashes from him earlier this season. Clearly not the case because they are not putting him in well enough to actually make him an effective quarterback or running back. And by the way, Brett Hundley threw the football way too many times against the Lions a week ago. Way too many times. So if you're the Green Bay Packers at this point, you're thinking about running the football, utilizing a little play action, and getting some deep shots down to a Jordy Nelson, etc. Obviously, I don't think that game plan is going to work out. I have the Green Bay Packers as my #4 lock to lose. And by the way, I am very interested to see how Mitchell Trubisky plays at the quarterback position here for the Chicago Bears, because the Bears are coming off a bye. And Trubisky was kind of rushed into this whole quarterback thing this season when Mike Glennon really didn't work out. And so I think maybe that bye week for the Bears gave Trubisky an opportunity to kind of sit back, digest the whole situation, look ahead now, get ready for a big-time foe in the Green Bay Packers at Soldier Field, and getting a good victory, because in the victories for the Bears so far, Mitchell Trubisky really hasn't been a factor. The wins against the Ravens and some other teams, the Panthers as well, Trubisky really wasn't a factor in those games, and I think he wants to be. I think he wants to throw the football down the field to the Kendall Wrights of the world that they have there. So Chicago, I think, could be kind of a sneaky spoiler team later this season because they have the defense to create turnovers, and for the Green Bay Packers, it's obviously a dire situation at this point with the loss of Aaron Rodgers, and I think, guys, for all you Packers fans listening and watching, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming back to the Green Bay Packers. And because even when he is healthy, just a little bit, the Packers probably won't even be in the playoff chase. So to recap here, I've got the Colts as my number 1 lock to lose, the Browns as my number 2 lock to lose, the Texans as my number 3, and the Green Bay Packers as my number 4. So if you're doing a pick pool with your coworkers out there, your family, maybe you're doing a little gambling this coming week in Week 10 of the NFL, there are some teams that probably will lose. I'm guaranteeing it. So Green Bay, Cleveland, Houston, and Indianapolis. And I do want to revisit Indianapolis real quick because I think there is more going on with that team than any other team right now. I touched upon it earlier in the program, talking about Chuck Pagano, because obviously there is a management issue with the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously there is a team issue with the Indianapolis Colts. Management, because of Andrew Luck. Team, because of the way in which they treated Vontae Davis, a well-respected veteran, and obviously a player that, has been great in years past, not as great this season. The season has dealt with a groin, but still, when you just leave him off the plane. We do have commenters flowing in, so we'll be showing them here. Josh, need to fire all the Colts staff before they ruin Andrew Luck. Josh, I hear you, man. I mean, you're absolutely right. In fact, I could argue maybe they already ruined Andrew Luck. It's honestly that dire of a situation because you never know what you're going to get with these shoulder injuries. Sometimes they're reoccurring. Sometimes they come back. And so with that, you have to wonder, will Andrew Luck come back in 2018 and be the healthy Andrew Luck again? Johnny, chiming in. Jay Gruden. That's an interesting name. I mean, Gruden's doing okay right now for Washington, so I don't think he's going anywhere, Johnny. I don't think he's going to Indianapolis. Maybe John Gruden, perhaps. Maybe they give John a call. Look, he's always been a part of the coaching rumor circle, and I know John Gruden loves his broadcasting and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, everybody has a price, and Johnny, it's certainly feasible to think that John Gruden could come on over to Indianapolis and maybe be the head coach for those Colts. Because I think it's a situation with the Colts where it's stale, kind of like Cincinnati, and when you have a new GM and Chris Ballard, he's looking for changes. He's looking for areas where he can kind of throw in new pieces and create a sense of new energy with his organization. We're at old energy right now with the Indianapolis Colts and Chuck Pagano. And again, I love the guy. I am a big fan of Chuck Pagano, and I think it's unfair that he's getting treated the way he is. I have prefaced my conversation earlier on the Cam Rogers show talking about Pagano, saying that he's probably just going to be the scapegoat. He's not exactly the problem, although this whole Vontae Davis situation is a little odd. But at the end of the day, I think Chuck Pagano is going to be on the chopping block here, and there's going to be an opportunity for a head coach to come in for the Indianapolis Colts, new GM, etc., so perhaps some changes. And Jim Irsay is not helping matters either because he's making some weird statements about Andrew Luck, saying that maybe his injury is in his head at this point, and Tony Dungy said that during a live look-in on the Dan Patrick Show. I will say Tony Dungy went to social media. He told ProFootballTalk.com that he did not actually have a conversation with Irsay. So there you have that. But still kind of interesting to note because of the statements that Jim Irsay has made. So obviously the Colts, a team guaranteed to lose this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And with that, you have some problems with the coaching staff. You have some problems with management. I think it's going to continue to snowball for the Indianapolis Colts this season. Hopefully Andrew Luck comes back healthy, though. All right, and there you have it. I want to hit a quick break here on the Cam Rogers Show because we are prepping you for our interview with Charcandrick West. Looking forward to that. Stick around. It's the Cam Rogers Show. Hey folks, welcome back to the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live. I am Cam Rogers. Hey, friendly reminder to download the podcast version of the Cam Rogers Show. Just search the Cam Rogers Show on iTunes. Hit download, subscribe, leave a review as well. It's pretty cool to see that I am the number 4 sports video podcast on iTunes. Quick hitters, Jordan Giorgio here at Chat Sports is number 1. So some pretty good stuff here at Chat Sports. So with that, we have a final word about Jerry Jones versus Roger Goodell and the feud that has just gotten a little bizarre at this point. And before we get to that, sincere apologies about the connectivity issues that we're having with Charcandrick West there, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. We will get those figured out. Maybe get him on here today. If not, the next episode maybe Monday. So stay tuned for that. And we'll get to a fun interview with Charcandrick, one of the great characters in the NFL. So looking forward to chatting with him at some point. But the feud here with Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell is just odd. And so what is happening right now is Roger Goodell has a contract that is essentially going to expire. And they are working through, the NFL Owners Committee, a situation to extend that contract, obviously. And there seems to be some sort of rift on right now with the NFL owners and the committee within those owners that actually negotiates these contract extensions, etc. So I'm going to read a little excerpt that I have here, and it involves Arthur Blank. And so there's this duel between Jerry Jones and Arthur Blank because, of course, Arthur Blank being the head owner of the Atlanta Falcons. There is a situation where Jerry Jones is calling out Arthur Blank, saying that Blank has not been transparent about the contract negotiations with Roger Goodell and his camp. And Jerry Jones is threatening to sue the NFL because of it. So here is the situation. The letter, which was received by ESPN, was copied to all NFL owners, alleges that Blank told owners, including Jerry Jones, on numerous occasions that the six-man committee, that committee that, negotiates with Roger and his camp, recommendation would be unanimous. Two ownership sources, however, said the committee is not currently unanimous on Goodell's contract, which is in its final stages. So there's a situation with Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell that is getting odd. And by the way, I'm just getting word, we've got Charcandrick West on the line right now, Kansas City Chiefs running back Charcandrick. How you doing, sir? Appreciate the time.
I'm good. Appreciate you having me.
So you're actually on your bye week right now, and I've always wanted to ask this to an NFL player here. Has it been a relaxing bye week? Have you had some fun, or is it just full of practice and full of rest?
Full of free time. It's a lot of free time. Just get away from football and chill.
You gotta love that.
You got it. That's the best thing in the world. That's one of my favorites. Just chill.
Just chilling. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about the season so far for the Chiefs, Charcandrick. Obviously, Alex Smith, a big reason why you guys are playing so darn well. I want to ask you about him because he seems to not get enough credit from the media, if you will, and all of the outside noise. But I'm going to give him a lot of credit, and I hope and I assume you will too here. How impressive has he been for you guys?
Oh, man, Coach Reed is amazing, man. We all know how great coach. To me, he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. And the thing about our team, we kind of like to fly under the radar. I mean, we kind of feel like that's what we surprise a lot of people because they doubt us. And so we like kind of going in as underdogs. So that's the kind of approach that we take it as a team. And I feel like that's why Alex is playing so well. Because so many people doubt him, and now he proved them wrong.
Hey, there's no doubt about that. And by the way, I want to ask you about Alex Smith's locker room presence too, his intelligence, his IQ, maybe the things that really people can't see on the football field, but that Alex Smith brings to this team.
Oh, man, he's our leader. I mean, he brings a lot to the team. I mean, your quarterback is the leader on the team, but I mean, a lot of people don't see Alex. I mean, they think he's just a serious guy at the time. He's one of the funniest guys on the team, to be around. And that's the thing, a lot of people in the world don't see what goes on inside the locker room. They just see what goes on Sunday.
And by the way, a big reason why you guys are winning on Sundays, Mr. Kareem Hunt, your fellow running back there, Charcandrick. Talk about his development there as a rookie.
They call him the dream. I mean, the kid he's playing outstanding right now. I mean, to come in as a rookie and do the things he's doing is amazing.
It seems like what's really unique about the Chiefs, Charcandrick, you guys are so loose, and it's so fun to watch. I mean, you guys know how to get down with your touchdown dances, etc. And I'm going to assume, Charcandrick, you're probably one of the more jokesters in the locker room. Am I wrong?
Nah, yeah, maybe a little bit. A little bit.
Give me some glimpses here into some pranks that you pull. Are you a prankster in the locker room?
I can't give away my good stuff now. Okay, you trying to maybe? I can't tell them my good stuff.
All right, I hear that. All right, you got to keep it for safekeeping.
Yeah,
That's fair.
For safekeeping. Wow.
All right. From what I understand, you're actually a big Skittles fan. And Charcandrick, I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I think Skittles is pretty bland. So I'm going to let you state your case why Skittles is so darn good.
You state your case first why they bland. How? Tell me how.
It's just sugar in a capsule, Charcandrick. That's it.
So what is your favorite candy?
I'm a big, Reese's Pieces guy, M&M's.
Oh, what is Reese's Pieces? What is Reese's Pieces? Please explain to me what is a Reese's Pieces.
Like the peanut butter kind of.
With sugar, it's a sugar-coated candy.
But chocolate and peanut butter.
With sugar in it. Same thing as a Skittle, baby.
That's fair.
Same thing as a Skittle with sugar. I mean, with peanut butter.
So, are you like on Marshawn Lynch level where you're feeding yourself Skittles on the football field?
I feel like, yeah, it's getting bad.
I gotta love it. By the way, one thing I loved from you, Charcandrick, during the Texans game, you had a sick touchdown dance. I'm not really sure what it was. We're gonna show it to the folks at home here. You did some sort of sassy dance action. Can you kind of explain what that whole dance was?
I have no clue what's going on. I used to be doing it in practice a lot of time, and it kind of just happened in the game. I was like, one of the things you don't want to show the world too soon, but hey, it's out there now.
I'm watching it on screen right now, and it's awesome. Like, you're doing a little hair flip action and everything. It's fantastic. I gotta love it. Let me ask you about this, too. You obviously are a big-time Madden fan. Do you challenge your players a lot, your fellow teammates?
Oh, yeah, I do. We do. We have a big tournament that goes on. I mean, almost at every game. When we have an early game, we get back in time to have time to play. That's what we're doing.
Wait, I'm going to have to get your PS4 name, and I need to challenge you to play.
Yeah, that's not a good idea, though.
Oh, you going to crush me?
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Oh, it's game on, folks. Cam Rogers versus Charcandrick West on Madden. Let's go, baby.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So I always love asking NFL players this question, Charcandrick. Where do you fall on fantasy football? Are you a hater, lover, or are you kind of in the middle? Where are we at?
I wish. I say all the time, I wish we had fantasy football for regular people, like regular work. I wish we could tweet them.
You could you could create like a journalism media fantasy game, you know, kind of bounce the ball back a little.
Yep, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. I want to. I feel like some people go overboard with it sometimes and forget what our actual job is. Like we playing to win and not for fantasy football.
Right. Hey, one of my first opening rants on the Cam Rogers Show was, all the people out there, stop @ing players on Twitter and complaining about fantasy because nobody wants to hear it. It's a waste of time, right?
Waste of time.
So looking ahead here, Charcandrick, obviously you guys are in a good position in the AFC, but you've got the Steelers, you've got the Patriots to deal with as well. How confident are you guys to maybe get that #1 seed in the AFC?
We're very confident. I mean, like I said, we play together. We play together as a football team. I mean, it's hard to stop us, man. But like I say, it's not about. We feel like it's not about the opponent each and every week. It's about us. We go out and execute our game plan and do what the coaches have put together for us all week. We got a good chance of winning.
And there's no doubt about the fastest player in the NFL right now, and I think it has to be Tyreek Hill. Charcandrick.
Oh yeah, man.
Tell me,
down.
This guy is a blur, right?
Man, I wouldn't even call it that. I don't even know what they call it. A blur, not fast enough.
He's having a great year for you guys, and you guys are creating a lot of big-time plays down the field as well. But obviously, a lot of plays underneath from Mr. Travis Kelce, a big friend of yours too. How great has he been at the tight end position?
Oh man, he's best in the game. When you got a tight end, he can do the things he can do, and run the routes the way he can run routes. It's crazy. He run routes like a receiver.
So you're still on your bye week, and you're still chilling. Are you going to be watching any NFL games, doing a little tape study on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a little scouting, see what's going on.
All right, there you have it there. Charcandrick West, straight chilling on this bye week for the Kansas City Chiefs. Charcandrick, we really appreciate you coming on the Cam Rogers Show. Man. Hopefully get you back on the program at some point. All the best to you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, bro.
All right, take care, my friend. Charcandrick West on the program on the Cam Rogers Show. Many thanks to him for coming on. Quite a character, ladies and gentlemen. Skittles, though? Skittles? I don't know. Sugar in a capsule, and it just makes you thirsty. It's weird. I don't know. To each his own. So, there you have it. Many thanks to him for coming on the show here. Did want to wrap up before we close the Jerry Jones, Roger Goodell situation, which is really odd here. So, what I was saying was there is a rift between Jerry Jones and the owners committee that negotiates contracts with Roger Goodell's camp. Jerry Jones threatening to sue the NFL. And why do I want to revisit this story? Because the Atlanta Falcons and the Dallas Cowboys battle each other this coming Sunday. Can it get any better? Not even Steven Spielberg could write this. You got to love it. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, the breaking news that came through, Ezekiel Elliott will not be a go for the Dallas Cowboys. So they're going to have to be without the services of him going forward in the foreseeable future. This has been the Cam Rogers Show, episode 27. Friendly reminder, get me wherever you go. Download the podcast version. Just search the Cam Rogers Show. I will see you Monday morning. Enjoy your NFL Sunday. See ya.